So welcome all. Today we are going to have first version or first session of our coming product webinars. And we are proudly today presenting something that we have been working on for a longer period of time. We are believing that governance can only be scaled when the whole organization is involved, and that's why we have been working on a Raincore Teams app. And this is what we will be talking to you today and also having a demo. There is a question and answer part also in this Zoom meeting. So feel free also to write your comments and questions there. So we will be taking them during the presentation, but also answering maybe there will be also a Q&A session in the beginning, but some of those might be relevant to the context, and then we can take them also while we are speaking. Can I get the next slide, please? So my name is Tiina Rytkönen, and I work here at Raincore as VP of Product and Engineering. And then I also have Sven from our team as product manager, who has been behind the Raincore Teams app, is proudly presenting the product today for you. We want to start by the problem. So what is the thing that we are trying to solve? And hopefully you will see also the value to your organization. We will be talking how we have been building the product, taking our customers working with us. Also the demo part will be there, and also we will be showing you how to get started. The problem. We see that governance is only good when it's working, and we claim that sometimes governance breaks down, and we want to hear where it breaks for you. So at this point, a poll would be coming up, and I would appreciate to hear your feedback. In case you think it's other, or if you want to say it's other, then you also may write your comment into the Q&A section. That's also available for you there. I'll give you a moment to answer, and then we can also talk about okay, I don't know if the poll is now working correctly. So if we are able to see the answers soon, but maybe we can continue where we think that the governance is breaking down.
Yeah, sure. You can touch on it, and maybe we can get the poll results in rather quickly. They're just turned up right perfectly.
Let's take a look. Okay, it seems that from the answers, one thing that is leading with 27% is that there is a worry about Copilot and oversharing. I think second runner-ups are with 20% of the respondents that owners can't see or act on their own workspaces, and sprawl with too many teams or no cleanup.
Yeah, I think that's also very much in line with what we discovered when we started working on the project. So I will briefly touch on those also later. I just checked in the Q&A, there is no additional mention, but I think it's already a pretty clear split between the top three, with the owners can't see what they're responsible for, the sprawl and the almighty Copilot and AI having access to things it shouldn't read or giving access to people who shouldn't see it. So if I would just take on the topic of what we saw when we started working on the project of the Raincore Teams app and also like how to close the gap in governance, something we discovered also from talking to our partners, talking to existing customers and prospects is that we have certainly in the governance area currently these two brackets where we have the administrators, where many of you are here today, also from the partners, of course, but you are in your administrator role. You set up policies, you think of different ways of how you want Teams, SharePoint, communities, and everything in Microsoft 365 to be used in your organization. But then on the other hand, we also have the users who have different use cases and purposes for these tools and might want to use them in a slightly different way and want to maybe move faster than you intended it to be or move in a different direction. And also, those two brackets often speak different languages. So even though if we don't like to admit it, if we are talking about the administration and the management of IT tools, we usually live in a kind of slightly different world than the average end user who's going into an office or opening up the laptop, doing their day-to-day job and trying to get through their day-to-day tasks. And they don't have their mind on governance and how to stay compliant with a team for policies that are set up somewhere in some tool they don't know. It's not the top priority for them and not top of their mind, and it's rightfully so, right? And something else we notice is that there is no translation layer between those brackets. So administrators, they might talk to the organization in a certain way and might demand certain things from the organization that the owners or end users, they don't really fully understand this. And even though if they would like to comply or they would like to do their best, they may lack the knowledge or they may don't understand the technical jargon used in some of the tools that we see or that we also have been working on in the past. So that's also something we really wanted to improve on while working on the Raincore Teams app and delivering here in a solution to the problem. Also, we dig through some data on our side and on the Microsoft side, and I think it also puts the point on the AI topic that some of you have chosen as one of the main drivers in the poll we just had. So we looked at about like nine tenants from our enterprise customers, like just at the scale of data and what information is going through the tenants. And you can see here on the slide that we have like across those tenants billions of files that are managed and that are created every day, SharePoint, OneDrive, and so on. And more than 160 million files are added every year, and not close as many are removed usually. And we also saw a big gap in the administration, or sorry, in the ownership of teams. So we see like close to 50% of teams have only one single owner, which is very much against best practices, what you probably try to achieve in your organizations, where it's at least two, maybe even three or four in best cases. And we see here that almost 50% have just a single owner or no owner at all and are completely unmanaged from the owner perspective, the end user perspective. And then last but not least, you can see the AI turn. So we have close to 100,000 files that are shared with external guests who have already gone inactive. So that's also a big gap in terms of governance, where we can see that a lot of files are getting shared at some point with an external user, and we don't even look at internal users here. This number will be much higher even. But then it's really hard for users to go back through the files they shared at some point and to like loop them back in, reduce the sharing exposure, or just get rid of some of the sharings created. There are some tools in the Microsoft stack like auto remove sharing links like after a certain time period. But also we have to be honest that most of the end users, they use the sharing overlay. They click on like who should get it, everyone in the organization, maybe even anonymous if that is possible. And they usually don't go to, okay, I will just pick a time frame and be sensible that I want to remove it at some point, because it's not their main concern in many cases, and that's fair, right? And if we would expand this and we could look at the exposure also internally, where some files, some sites, some teams are shared across the organization or anonymously inside the organization or just beyond what the M65 group that is underlying there is intended to be. So even there we have a lot more exposure, which is again not really easily visible and not really discoverable for the users if they don't have like a SharePoint certificate and know exactly where to go to advanced permissions and direct access and all these kind of hidden menus in the legacy UI. And most of them don't have this expertise, which is also fair. So what we came up with is the Raincore Governance or Raincore Teams app, which is the extended arm that you as administrators can have into the organization. And what we focused on being this translation layer. So we would like to have you configuring Raincore Governance as you like it, as you need it, the templates that you want to provide to your organization to make sure that the right resources are provisioned in the right way, that you can create reviews that you can run through the organization on a schedule so that people can run through the data and check if everything is still up to date. And you can also steer and guide approvals where you have certain approvals triggered by automations to archive inactive resources or to deprecate maybe some SharePoint sites or teams that shouldn't be there anymore and all these kind of things. What we also put a lot of effort into is making the information visible to the owners of a workspace in just one overview, and you don't need to navigate to Teams, SharePoint, maybe Viva, and some other places, but you can just open up the workspaces feature in our app, and I will touch on this in a moment, and you can then explore what you are an owner of, what you are responsible for, and you can also manage to some degree all these certain aspects and dive deeper into them. What we also try to achieve, and I think we did a good job on, is introducing the Fluent UI for Microsoft. So you will see also in the screenshots on the right, there is not a Raincore design language to this, that we didn't reinvent the wheel. We used a lot of the interactive components from Microsoft Teams and the Fluent UI, so there is not a big learning curve and trying to understand how Raincore sees UI and UX, but it's very much behaving similar to how Teams does in many ways. Of course, there are some things we put a bit of our own flavor to it because we think it works slightly better or based on customer feedback. But overall, it's basically if you change the logo on the top left, which is possible, a pretty white label solution which looks and feels like a Teams extension that everyone is comfortable with. So we didn't change the backend from the governance portal. So you still have the Raincore governance, the user portal that you all know and use most likely. We just changed how you reach into your organization and do that in a more modern and more simplified and user-friendly way. If we look deeper into the different features that the Raincore Teams app has, we will also do them in the live demo, of course, but I wanted to briefly summarize them. First up, we have introduced a new homepage. So on this new homepage, we will summarize for the user all tasks that are relevant to them and also give them some quick ways of creating a often used provisioning template or using an often used provisioning template. We also have a tile on the right that you will see later where you can configure as administrators maybe additional content. We call it the Explore and Learn tile, where you can have your governance guidelines, maybe some explanatory videos about governance, some educational material, or maybe in the beginning, even a guided walkthrough how to use the Raincore Teams app so users don't need to look for a certain place to find out how to use something, and it's right there, right in place in the Raincore Teams app. We have the request feature, one of our, I think, most used features in the existing Raincore Nova application, which is about requesting workspaces. This can be Teams, SharePoint sites, Viva Engage communities, and many more. And we provide all of these also in the Raincore Teams app. So you can, as administrators, create provisioning templates, how a team of a certain name should be created, like an internal project team template, for example, where you can set up what sensitivity labels are available for them to choose. Is it always a private team and so on? And you can provide those inside the Raincore Teams app. Users can select them, fill in their details, and then request this team to be created, going through an approval workflow, which is also, as you can see at the bottom, handed inside the Raincore Teams app. So whoever needs to approve it, they get a notification within Teams. There's a new approval for you. You can click on it, approve and decline. And all of the things that I just mentioned are always possible also on the go in the Raincore Teams mobile app within Microsoft Teams. So that's also a first for us that we provide all of these features that I just listed on the mobile application. We then added some more features that haven't been there before, which is the workspaces feature. And the workspaces feature is very much about giving this knowledge and the insight that we discussed earlier when we talked about the problem of governance at scale to the owners. So for an owner, I want to be able to quickly and easily see what are the owners of this team, members who are visitors on the site connected to this team, what's about file sharing, what about additional site access configured that is hidden somewhere in the UI in the SharePoint. So I want to quickly discover this, and I will show you in a minute how it looks. And it's really easy for an owner to understand also who has access to my materials, what I'm responsible for, and maybe I can just manage from there already and remove some people or remove some file sharings to reduce the exposure towards Copilot or externals or just in general. And something that is really well anticipated is also the reviews feature. So reviews basically helps you as administrators to use what we built in the workspace feature. So providing this information in an easy to understand way to the users. And it does it in a way that you can configure the steps what a user needs to review, for example, team owners, team members, and file access. And then they will be guided through these steps with the same look and feel like the workspaces feature, no retraining, really easy to understand in many ways. And then you can configure that they need to do this review every 3 months for a certain set of teams, for example. And you can even configure automation workflows that can be triggered by the users, for example, an archival or deletion. And you can trigger it like you like it in your organization. You can, for example, say if something gets deleted, I first want to trigger a backup of this in my backup tool. Or if I want to archive something, I also want to write it into a ServiceNow ticket or a list somewhere or whatever your archival or deletion workflow might be. We don't put this onto you. You can configure it and your users just trigger an archival or deletion, and this will be running in the background. So those are the features on a high level. Reviews, I would like to point out, is still in preview. It's a very new addition we made a couple of weeks ago. So if you have any feedback, we're happy to talk about it and improve the feature. Everything else you see here is already in the Raincore Teams app and available on production state. What I think we should definitely point out is the way that we build it, because I think it serves the quality of the product that we are putting in front of you today, and also the way that we were able to iterate on the different questions that we had in our minds, because we are not as close to administrating M365 or to the end users in your organization as you are. So you know best, like what are the questions you get, what are the different workflows you need, and all these kind of information. So going off from Raincore Nova, we know we want to build something new and something better. And we ask all of our power users, power customers in the Raincore Nova app, what they like and what they would like to be improved. And based on this, we iterated in many different design cycles. And many of you actually here in the webinar, I recognize some names, joined us for design interviews with our designer Lydia, with me, and with Tina, and gave feedback. And we worked on these designs. And some of you have probably seen designs that were way older that look completely different to what we see right now in the final product, which is, I think, a good thing because it shows that we improved and moved in the direction that you needed. We also released quite early the private preview to a handful of customers and opened it up later on. So we also got a lot of more feedback on what worked, what doesn't work, performance, and so on. So a lot of things we could already improve before this launch today. So also something there. And I think that also deserves a genuine thank you. So all of you who are in the call that recognize that you joined those calls or gave your feedback, thanks a lot. I think you will probably recognize a lot of the things that you gave us feedback on in the product. And I hope you are also quite excited about it and happy to use it and happy to get it into your fingers and hands and work with it. So now I think spend a lot of time hyping everybody up. So I would say let's maybe take a look and let's see it and jump into it. I would like to show you the homepage first, and then we will go through a certain set of jobs that your users most likely will do. And I think we will start with the serve service request once I show you the homepage. The homepage you will see looks relatively different to what you have been using in the past in our tool. So I'm just here in the in the Teams app itself, in the web browser, and then I can select the Raincore Teams app here on the left-hand side. You can see we also switched out the logo for a new branding. and you have the Raincore Teams app homepage opening up right away there. So a couple of things I would like to point out and explain. So on the homepage, we focused on providing the user just a set list of tasks that this user needs to do in a certain period of time. So you can see here the things to do list is basically what is assigned to me. It could be an approval, it could be a review, and it could be a provisioning approval, and when is it due. We sort like everything that is really critical on the top, and then the further down we go, the less critical things become. I can also, as a user, see right away, this is a review for marketing. This is an approval checklist, so I will need to approve something here. I can just click on it and right away start the approval to provide the information to my colleagues requesting this workspace. On the very top, we have something we call smart templates. So after you use the application for some time, we will recognize what templates you used the most recently, and then we will curate this list on the top. And the very much, it could be 3 templates showing up here. And then you will see that this list is populated by the most recent ones you used. And you can then just quickly click into one of these to provision a workspace you use often. So for example, if I would be a project manager, I would probably use the internal project team really often. And then I have this right at my fingertip here and can just start it right away without navigating to a different feature and selecting a template and all that. On the right-hand side, I see some recent information. So recent requests, you can see, of course, I did some last-minute testing before the webinar. And then on the bottom right, you can see the Explore and Learn tile I covered on earlier. So here you can see for some of the information, you can provide here a title and a description for a link. You can also select an icon here, and then you would provide, for example, on SharePoint, a document with your company governance guidelines or governance training videos, and these kind of information right here on the homepage available to everyone. If you don't configure anything here because you don't want to use it, this tile will just be hidden, so there will be no questions asked, and users will not be aware that there is something missing. All right, let's go into the request workflow. Before I jump there quickly, in the self-service request, this was the feature we got the most good feedback on in the Raincore Nova. So we also tried to not change too much about the provisioning flow because a lot of customers told us this is the part they really, really like, and that works great also from the user perspective. So the main thing we focused on making it more look and feel like a Teams native action. And this is probably something you will also notice when we go through it. So if I click on request or on the new request button on the top right, I will be able to see all the templates that I have access to, and I can also here on the top filter them. And if I would like to, for example, create a new internal project team, I can now click on it. I will get some brief information. This is the company guidelines that you configure in the template where you as an administrator can give some additional instructions when to use this template, how to use this template, what to look out for, and this kind of information. And then also we show whatever is configured in the template. So in this template, for example, I cannot change the privacy and I cannot change the sensitivity label. That's what we're putting up front here. So as a user, I immediately see, okay, if I choose this template, this is what I get. Also a nice touch is that we show you the actual tenants sensitivity label tooltips here, and you can then also see, your users can also see what actually is the purpose of this label and when should I use it. So if I click Start Request, you will see that it looks and feels really similar to how Teams does it if you use the Teams provisioning. So I can just do here a quick request to do the launch webinar and to team for the launch webinar. And I can just type in the team name, team description, click Next. I need to set up some owners, of course. So let's pick our colleague Carl here. And as a member, we maybe want Sabine should be available. Yeah. So let's use Sabine. And then we have the common approver. Please approve this. And I can add a comment. You can also disable this field, as you already know from the Raincore Nova app, most likely. And then I can click request. There's a quick confirmation message. And after a moment, then this request will be moved to processing. And I can then go on, do something else, of course, and navigate away. If I want to look at my previous request, I can see a big list of all my requests here, sorted by request date, so I can see the most recent on the top. And I can also click on them if I don't remember what I requested, because it has been maybe a day or two. Then I can just get a quick summary. What are the owners and members I added, the privacy, the label, name, and of course the state and the description. So this is what I see as someone requesting something, and this is how it works on the self-service part. Depending on what service you're requesting, like Viva Get Communities, SharePoint, and anything else, of course, it's slightly different in the terms of what you fill in, but I think that's clear from the form. So next up, we have the workspaces feature. So some of you might have used the My Objects feature that we had in Raincore Nova, and we got some feedback on it. And generally, the idea was heading in the right direction, but we were lacking the UI and the explanation that users expect for the feature that we built there. So we took the core idea and we iterated on it in the designs together with some of our customers. And what we landed on is the workspaces feature. And we just see I've been assigned a review. No surprise because we just requested it. But yeah, team certifications are also part of the product, as you can see. So you can also see them here. In the workspaces feature, you will have the option to see the different services that are available to you as the owner. So this will be guided by the administrator setting it up. You can choose what services they should see. And then as an owner, I have as an end user, I have a list of workspaces that I can access here. I can quickly filter where I'm a member of, where I'm an owner of. In this case, this is a big list. I can also see archive teams right away. So I can quickly navigate and see what is relevant for me or just like what is available and where do I have access. If I want to jump deeper into a certain aspect, I can just click on the search for the team and select the team. And then you can see the workspaces feature, how we created it. So on the right-hand side, I have some high-level information. The privacy of this team is private. I have the storage utilization from the SharePoint side connected to this team in percentage. The tooltip will also show the actual value. And then you have the last post done in this team and if it was archived or not. Also below that, you can see connected apps. So in this case, as we talk about the team, there's always a SharePoint site connected. So I can also make this visible here in the application and show it to the user without confusing them and showing in SharePoint the same application and so on. So we streamline this and you can navigate there through Teams. If I want to look deeper into information inside here, I can see the owners of this team. If I decide, for example, Carl shouldn't be an owner anymore, I can just click on remove. And as you can see, the save button here activated. So there's no active action right away, which also something we focused on because a lot of end users are often scared of breaking something when they configure something. So we wanted to build it in a way that you feel safe clicking around, discovering something, and then you actually are okay clicking save and you know what happens and you're not left in the dark. If I undo this, then we go back and then I can also see, of course, the members of my team here. I have a search if I want to search for a specific name. In this case, I think there are no visitors, so we can jump and skip this part. We have the site access, which is basically breaking down for me as a user what different groups, SharePoint groups or users have direct permissions on the site, something that is really hard to find out if you don't know SharePoint really well and you don't go to the advanced permission set. So here I can just expand the group that got access to the site. I can see the permission level nicely formatted here. I can decide if this group should keep access or not. I can also skip through the other ones here and I can see the same information. Same for the users where we have some read-only visitors added to the site, which is also something you should be aware of in some cases. You can also remove them here right away. Same for file access. You can see also here we focused on keeping the patterns similar, so there's not a lot of training and cognitive load going on for the users. You can see a quick filter here, like external access, anonymous access, anyone in the organization, and internal. And they are like sorted based on risk. So if you have direct sharings per person internally, someone really made up their mind like who should have access. If someone has created external permissions or anonymous permissions, that's more of a red flag and more of a risk for AI or just in general oversharing. So then for a anonymous sharing, for example, I can expand and I can see for this document, there are two sharing links created, one for anyone with the link, one for anyone in the organization. And I can now decide if I want to keep both of them or maybe remove one of them. So this is the workspace feature in action, and I can also navigate, of course, to the SharePoint side of things, which looks really similar. Sorry, which looks really similar in this case. We have the same owners and members, of course, because this is zoomed in this way. But you can imagine when we dive deeper into things like Viva Engage communities and so on, then this is also getting exponentially more interesting and exciting. So for the workspaces feature, the plan is to add more services in the next weeks. The next one will be Viva Engage communities, which will then be popping up here. And after that, we will have M365 groups also in the next weeks. And the plan is that we support the same services that we support in reviews, then also in the reviews in the workspaces feature. So those are in sync, and those will be expanded throughout the next weeks and months. All right. Next up, we have the reviews feature. I hope my voice is still lasting for the last half an hour. The reviews feature. So in reviews inside the Raincore Teams app, you can navigate there as a user. As I also pointed out, you can also see assigned reviews to you and their due date on the homepage directly, but let's use the feature page for now. Being here, I can see active reviews and like what reviews I'm assigned to, and I can see the team name and team description. Those are like assumed in my test environment. And then I can see also the type of resource that I need to review. It could be a team, it could be a SharePoint site, or Viva Engage, and then groups next, and so on. And I can see what people are assigned to this review, basically all owners of the resource in this case, and I can see when it's due. Something we also wanted to add, because reviews can be a multiplayer kind of situation where you don't want to do the review on your own completely, but maybe you do owners and members and someone else has more knowledge about the file or site access, so you can do them together. So this is why we sync them. And you can see, for example, here, I started this review and my colleague Tobias, he also started the review already. So I can also see that someone else is working on this review while I haven't started it yet, maybe. I can then just click on view details and I will be again guided through the experience. So I can see the information on the workspace here on the left. I have some more information on the privacy and so on, the same information that we saw earlier. If I'm in doubt, I can also open in Teams, just like I can do it in the workspaces feature, jump to the team directly in Teams, or I can click continue review. And this will basically bring me to where I left off. So in this case, it's the owner section. And we try to introduce like a 1 or 2 sentence introduction why it's important to review the owners. So owners have a lot of control, they have a lot of permissions. You should make sure that the owners are the correct people in this case. So please review them thoroughly. Something along the lines is provided from us for every step. And then here I can just decide if I want to remove one of the owners. I can also downgrade an owner to a member if they don't need the owner access anymore any longer. If I click it here, I can see that also my role is protected now. I cannot remove myself as an owner because we always need at least one owner. And then I can move to the next step. Now I just remove here, for example, Sabine from the member section. I can click on visitors. There is no visitor now. I can see site access. And then we have, for example, here, the everyone except external users and marketing members, they got access. Okay, let's maybe keep it. And then we have file access where we have some sharings on the folder level in this case. So I can also remove the folder access here on this case for anyone in the organization if I want to. And then in the end, I will receive a summary of all the changes that I applied, or if my colleague also now goes through the review, this page will be updated. And then there will be another changes made by someone else fed right in here. On the top, I can then select complete, and this will then just carry out all the actions that we just linked up here. So Tobias will be removed as an owner and downgraded to a member. Sabine will be removed completely, and the file sharing for anyone in the organization for the question 1 folder will also be removed. And then everything is fine from my perspective. So I can just click complete here, or I can also trigger one of the custom workflows we mentioned earlier. So you as an administrator can set those up. You can select one of 15 icons and give it a custom name and decide what your archive flow is, what your delete flow is, and all the other things that you might be interested in to escalate something, to trigger a review, a compliance review for something, and whatever your custom needs are, you can replicate those in the platform. All right, let's complete this step in this case. So I will be prompted to do a comment if it's configured. You can see it right here. I can click submit, and then your review is complete and it will be gone from the list as well. Something else you can configure here is also, if you have the need for it, you can configure some of the actions to be available also before the review. So you can decide some actions should be available after someone did a review, and some actions might be available before someone does a review. Maybe you only want to archive after all the permissions are correct, and maybe you want to offer deletion without doing a review. So you can set and configure if something should be available before the review or after the review, and steer your users maybe to a good governance practice on this level as well. All right. So this is what we have, what we want to show you specifically. There's a lot more. Maybe one thing we could show is the notification that we just received. So I've been assigned an approval request. The team we just requested, I am the approver in this case. So if I click here on the Teams notification, I will be having the pop-up for the approval popping up. In the other part of the screen, I can see who requested it, when did they request it, what's the description for the workspace, what was the comment for the approver, some information on like owners, privacy, and the sensitivity label, and I can just approve it here, and it will be created then, and the workflow will continue. And then the user will get a prompt and notification again once it's created, and so on. Okay. So pricing and availability, something we also got some questions for before the webinar already. So if you are on Premium Enterprise, where I think most of you are up to my knowledge, we will not have any add-on or separate license for the Raincore Teams app. The Raincore Teams app will replace Raincore Nova application, and therefore there's no additional cost and no additional add-on that you need to purchase to gain access. And the availability is also good news because it's available to everyone at the end of the webinar, not quite, but shortly after the webinar, because I have the honor of flicking a few switches, and then you will have access and can use it and can test it and try it out. If you are an essential professional, please talk to your partner or to your CSM, and then we can walk you through the options to get access to it and what you can use it for. So maybe a quick word because I mentioned it, sorry. The Raincore Nova and the access feature. So we are introducing the reviews feature in preview since a couple of weeks. We already made some improvements and tweaks, and we are continuing on this track. The Raincore Teams app is generally available as of today, and we are looking to deprecate Raincore Nova and the existing access feature that some of you might use at the end of the year 2026. So end of December 2026 will be the deprecation or cutoff for the Raincore Nova and the Access application, which leaves you with quite some time to move to the Raincore Teams app or the review feature, or both in best case, of course. And the review feature will also not be available in the Raincore Nova application, same as we will not provide the Access feature in the Raincore Teams app. I know this sentence is kind of confusing, but you can think of it, the old Access feature is available in the old Teams app. The new review feature is available in the new Teams app. So that's how it works. How to turn it on in your tenant. I'm sure you all want to try it and see your own data in it and give it a try. So I will run you through how to set it up and also point out some of the well-requested branding options that you would like to have. And then we can see how easy it is. So jumping into my Raincore Governance workspace, you will be able to see a new settings tab here as soon as it's enabled for you, and the Teams app settings, and you can click on it. And what you will see is the settings and setup page for everything related to the Teams app. You don't need to navigate anywhere else. So what we are interested in is the setup. right? So we click on the Setup tab and then we scroll all the way down. This would be the first action you need to do. You need to connect your environment to the Raincore Teams app and allow users in your environment to use the Raincore Teams app. So these two toggles, you need to turn them on, and that's the baseline that you need to do absolutely. Other than that, nobody will have access to any form of Teams app. Next up, you can set up a in-app logo. So the one that you see, let me switch over maybe. The one that you see here on the top left, where we have the Raincore logo and the brand name, there you can set up and upload your own brand and logo for light and dark theme, so it always looks nice and tidy. So you can upload the file here, PNG or SVG. Please stick to the size, otherwise it might look weird if you crop it or you have a rectangle. So then you have the in-app logo set up. And then you have the app deployment, which would be next. So if you have never used Raincore Nova, you will upload this as a new app. If you have used Nova before, you can just upgrade the manifest. And the way that you would do it, you would put in your app name that you want to show up in the in the navigation here. So recently Teams removed all the names here in the navigation, but on Hover you can still see the app name and in some other places as well. So I would advise you to use something that your users are used to or that you want to use as a branding for your internal governance app. So you have probably some Raincore 365 or there are commonly used patterns to these. I will just stick with Raincore in this example. And then again, you have setups for color icons and outline icons, depending on which theme users are on. You can upload those here, and then you just download the manifest, and this will trigger download of the manifest file, which then is already branded in the right way. So you have your app name there, you have your logos there, and everything else is also set up for you. And you can just use this manifest and deploy the app in the Teams Admin Center. A couple of other things you need or want to do is you want to have all the users enabled for the new experience. And maybe if you don't want them to see the old experience, you also want to enforce the new experience. So these two toggles are relevant as well. If you have used Nova before, be aware that as soon as you flick those two on, everyone sees the new UI and nobody can go back. If you want to do that, you are free to do so. Another thing you can set up is the different features. So some of you rolling the Raincore Teams app out ask for, hey, we want to start with the workspaces feature only to get people accustomed to it. So how can we do that? The way that you would do it, you just toggle everything off except for the workspaces feature. And if we reload Teams quickly, then we have the new navigation here for you that will be accustomed to the workspaces. So now you only see the workspaces and all users only see the workspaces. There will always be the homepage, and then you can just adjust what you use actually, and also the new request button is gone, as you can see. So you can also see the Teams app as a rollout that is staged, and you can start with workspaces, work your way up to provisioning and approvals, and then maybe reviews, or you start another way around, however you would like to have it. And these are the options you have here. Last but not least, configuration for the workspaces feature. You can enable and disable which services users should see, and you can also decide if they should have the management options. The management options are things like adding owners, adding members, changing roles, removing people, removing file sharing. This is what we call management options. And if you disable these toggles, they will still be able to see all the information, but they cannot write in place, remove, or add anything. So also there you have some versatility. I think those are the main points that need maybe some explanation. There's some more setup for the homepage, for the explore and learn type, but this is really straightforward. I'm more than sure that everyone can handle this. And if you have any questions, we have the docs.raincore.com where we put a lot of effort into providing you with really good documentation on setting up the Teams app and working everything out on what I just explained to you step by step. Okay, I got ahead of myself and showed all of you this already. So let's skip this slide and come over to the Q&A section. So I see we have some question or one question in the Q&A area already. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A panel now. You can see the Q&A panel on the bottom in the Zoom navigation, in case you're not used to use Zoom like I am, then you can click on Q&A and you can put your answer there if you have any questions. And I will just read aloud maybe the question that we have right there. So will there be limitations or configurations of Power Platform settings interfere with Raincore admin functions? That's I
I,
just saw the UI flicking over to Tina is going to answer this
yeah,
question.
it's interesting. So the new feature. So, but how would we? I think it's very interesting, but also it might be difficult question for us to answer.
Yeah, so it's a good question. I will need, I think it depends on what exactly you mean by the Power Platform settings, but usually we don't interfere with anything because on the gathering side, we only scan what's available, and on carrying out actions, we do Graph API calls or in some cases SharePoint REST, and we don't like block or override any other settings in most cases. So if you have any specific one, please reach out to our support team or your CSM, and then we can cover those maybe more in detail when we know what exact settings or what functions we are talking about.
Then there is another question about a link to the support documentation for the Teams app provisioning. I think we can add that there.
Yes, I think we can add it to the email, the follow-up email, and
Mm-hmm.
provide you a direct link. What we also have is for the Raincore Teams app itself, so for the UI you see here, we have overlay walkthroughs through all the features and in general. So that's also something we will present to you in the documentation or in the email. So you can, whatever I just discussed with you or presented to you, there will be an overlay running through like how you can find things, what you can do, and how something works that you also can maybe use within your user base internally or just for your own education on getting up to speed with the feature. Then we have another one. How quickly will changes in workspace permissions be deployed to the tenant? So when users make changes in the workspaces feature here, so adding an owner or removing someone, usually this will be carried out within 5 to 30 minutes in the usual case, but depending on the API load on your tenant, maybe there's some part level migration going on, maybe there's a scan currently going on, or some other load on your tenant. This can take time, and we are visually representing this in the workspace. So as soon as I make a change in the workspace feature, nobody else can make another change right away, and there will be an orange or yellowish banner on the top that someone just made changes, and you cannot do any changes while they are being carried out. I can also click on a link there and see those changes in a summary, similar to what we saw in the review, and see what's being carried out. And then once they are applied, the page is refreshed and you can see the latest information. So it should be quite quickly. In cases where it takes longer, we have visual messaging in place for your users. That is also understandable for users, that it takes a moment and that they can navigate away. Nothing will break. Good question.
Then next question is, do Microsoft system outages have major impacts on the data Raincore pools?
Yeah, another good question. So when we scan data from Microsoft and they have an outage and we can't reach their API, of course, there's nothing we can read from. And if we are not represented with any answers or data in the API calls we make, then we of course can't pull data. So yeah, if there's a major outage on a system we are currently trying to scan, there will be an impact for sure because we can't reach the system. But we have auto healing and recovering in place for scanning. So as soon as it's coming back online, usually we can just continue scanning. So that's how we handle this quite reliably, I would say.
All right, and then there is a good question about the Copilot and agent governance in Raincore Teams app. Is that planned, and if so, when?
I'm glad you put it the when at the end of the question. Um, Copilot and agent governance is certainly something we're looking into. So as I said, the For the workspaces feature, we will continue to add new services here. We've engaged groups, and then eventually also we will go into the Power Platform and agent area. Definitely something we want to cover because I think, especially around the Copilot agents, there is a lot of things we could show here in the workspaces feature and make more transparent where maybe the Microsoft UI is not so user-friendly in translating again between those layers that we discussed. So something I would definitely like to add. I cannot say exactly when, but I think everyone who worked with us on the Raincore Teams app, they all can probably say that we have been working on this really hard and there was a high priority to it, and this will be continuing a high priority product service for us because, as we said, like we believe that governance only works at scale, and the Raincore Teams app is major part of the success of governance at scale. So it's something we will continue to push on to deliver more services and more objects here for your users. There's a very long question now. So I just enabled the management possibilities for the new Teams app. Great that you already added it. I was so curious to already enable it during the call in Q&A. But is that by design that although I'm an owner, I can still modify the ownerships and memberships? Is this by design or a bug? I suppose I should only be able to modify the memberships and sharings if I'm an owner. Yes, you are normally only available to do this as an owner. Maybe if it's related to SharePoint, you have some permissions that grant you this access. So, for example, admin permissions on the SharePoint, and then we can be able to do this. Otherwise, we respect the owner and membership, and we cannot override it. So I suspect that there is some hidden permission in SharePoint or anywhere else that gives you this permission level that you're talking about.
I'm so happy to see it because I think it's not very often that we, as kind of product people, we are releasing features or products that are kind of people really want to test early. And this has been a really nice project when we know that we are actually solving a real problem that exists, and people are also trying the features out as soon as they come out. So thank you also for all of you who have been working with us, and stay curious. So because we are also learning about the use cases as we go on.
Absolutely.
Good. I don't see any more questions. If you still have some, there's room. Or then I will maybe say the final word. So thank you very much for people who have been joining, and thank you also for who have been working with us on this very important part of the governance journey, the Raincore Teams app. We are going to be organizing this kind of product webinars more in the future. So when we are releasing, but also we might share something about the plans, so that about the roadmaps and plans in the future. So looking forward to seeing you also in the future. Thank you, Sven, for the absolute great work. Thank you also, Lydia, who has been working as a designer to create this beautiful product. And thank you all, and see you next time.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.